to call to order the regular meeting of the West Valley City Council tonight, and let the roll call show that all members of the council are present this evening. And each week at our council meeting, we take turns as elected officials on overseeing an opening ceremony, and today that honor is mine. And as you know, we had a recent tragedy in Wisconsin at the Sikh temple, a senseless act of violence that was heartbreaking for many of us in this country, and specifically in this community. And often out of tragedy, we can find opportunities to come together. And I was touched by, because of that tragedy, to think more about the Sikh community among us. And we have the Sikh temple in the greater West Valley area, in the West Valley City suburb of Taylorsville, and not too far from here at all. And so I reached out to them and said, I have the opening ceremony this evening. Would you we would be honored, deeply honored, to have members of the Sikh community come join us and offer an invocation tonight. And we've had in these council chambers, we've had in our opening ceremonies anything from a inspirational thought to a pledge of allegiance. We've had Episcopal prayers, we've had Mormon prayers, we've had Muslim prayers, and even a Hindu prayer last year, which was the first in the state of Utah. But tonight, I believe this is the very first time we have someone of the Sikh faith, one of the prominent world religions, here join us for the invocation. So we are pleased to have the High Priest Gurmeet Singh from the neighboring Sikh temple come up to the microphone, and you're welcome to introduce those guests with you and say a few words about your faith before you offer an invocation on tonight's proceedings. So, yes, please come up to the microphone, Mr. Singh.
I'll translate for him.
Thank you.
She, Mrs. Harinder Dhinsha.
She is Harinder Dhinsha.
So, and my chairman Jagdish Gill.
My chairman, Mr. Jagdish Gill, is also along with us of the trust. Would you like the translation after that, or is it okay? You will say the prayer in his language?
Yes, however is comfortable for you.
सतनाम श्री वाहिगुरु जीओ जगत जलंदा रख लै अपनी किरपा तहार जित द्वारे उबरै तितै ले उबार अरदास एक ओंकार वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। श्री भगवती जी सहाय वार श्री भगवती जी की पातशाही दसवीं। प्रथम भगवती सिमर कै गुरु नानक लय ते आए फिर अंगत ते गुरु अमरदास रामदास सै हुई सहाय। अर्जन हर गोबिंद नौ सिमरो श्री हर राय। श्री हर कृष्ण ध्याई है जिस डिठै सब दुख जाए। तेग बहादुर सिमरी है करनो निध आवे ताई सब थाई हुई सहाय। दसवीं पातशाह साहिब गुरु गोबिंद सिंह साहिब जीओ सब थाई हुई सहाय। दसां पातशाहियां दी आत्मक जोत धन गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी के पाठ दीदारा ध्यान धर के बोलो जी वाहिगुरु। पंजा प्यारियां चौहां साहिबजादियां 40 मुक्तियां हट्टियां जपियां तपियां जिन्हां ने नाम जपिया वंड के छकिया देख चलाई तेग वाही। देख के अंडित किता तिन्ना प्यारियां सचियारियां धर्मियां निमियां महापुरखां सिद्ध कवाना दी कमाई वल ध्यान धर के बोलो जी वाहिगुरु। पंजा तख्तां सरबत गुरद्वारियां गुरधामां गुर निशाना गुर तीर्थां वल ध्यान धर के बोलो जी वाहिगुरु। हे निमाणियां दे मान सतगुरु निताणियां दे ताण सतगुरु निओटियां दी ओट सतगुरु ने आसरियां दे आसरे सतगुरु। धन गुरु नानक साहिब जीओ धन धन गुरु गोबिंद सिंह साहिब जीओ धन गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जीओ। आप जी दे पावन पवित्र चरना कमलां विच अरदास बेनती जोदड़ी है पातशाह जीओ। आप कृपा रहमत बख्शिश करके पातशाह जीओ जगत जलंदा रख लै अपनी कृपा धार। जित द्वार है उबरै तितै लियो उबार दे महावाकां अनुसार ਸਾਰੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੁਖ ਵਰਤਾਓ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀਓ। ਸਰਬਤ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਸੁੱਖਾਂ ਦਾ ਵਰਤਾਰਾ ਵਰਤਾਓ, ਦੁੱਖਾਂ ਕਲੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਸਰਬ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਸੁਮਤ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਵਲ ਅੱਲ੍ਹਾ ਨੂਰ ਉਪਾਇਆ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਕੇ ਸਭ ਬੰਦੇ ਏਕ ਨੂਰ ਤੇ ਸਭ ਜਗ ਉਪਜਿਆ ਕੌਣ ਭਲੇ ਕੋ ਮੰਦੇ। ਸਾਰੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੋ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀਓ। ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਪਾਵਨ ਪਵਿੱਤਰ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਕਮਲਾਂ 'ਚ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਜੋ ਲਈ ਸਾਲਟ ਲੇਕ ਸਿਟੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਵੈਸਟ ਵੈਲੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੌਂਸਲ ਵੈਸਟ ਵੈਲੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਰਬਤ ਨੇ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਕਮਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਜੋ ਲਈਏ ਸਾਰੇ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨੂੰ ਰਲ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੋ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀਓ। ਜੋ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਦਰ ਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਸੋ ਰਾਜੀ ਜਾਵੇ। ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਜੋ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਵਿਸਕਾਂਸਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਘਰ ਵਿਖੇ ਵਿਸਕਾਂਸਨ ਸਿੱਖ ਟੈਂਪਲ ਵਿਖੇ ਸ਼ਹੀਦ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਜੋ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ ਹੋਏ ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿਵਾਸ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰੋ ਤੇ ਜੋ ਜ਼ਖਮੀ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਰੋਗ ਦਾਤਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨਾ। ਜੋ ਜੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਦਰ ਤੇ ਆਵੇ ਸੋ ਰਾਜੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਸੁਖ ਹੋਵੇ ਨਾਮ ਚਿਤ ਆਵੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਾਣੇ ਸਰਬਤ ਦਾ ਭਲਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਜੋ ਬੋਲੇ ਸੋ ਨਿਹਾਲ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
We have provided you the translation. He has cut it short, but that's the whole translation we have given you. So we remember all our prophets and the holy book and the people who sacrificed their life to help the helpless. And then in the end, we pray for the whole universe, for the well-being of whole universe, for the all religions, because we are sons of one God. That's our prayer.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, and it's an honor to have the High Priest of the Sea Temple, Gormeet, sing with us that beautiful invocation. And even though we didn't understand each and every word, we felt the spirit as you have that sincerity, and really appreciate you coming. We appreciate all you do in our community. And there are many Sikhs that live in West Valley City. And we represent them and appreciate them. And on behalf of our entire City Council and City, we express our deepest condolences for the recent tragedy in Wisconsin to those brothers and sisters of your faith. So thank you again for coming
We are
tonight.
thankful for your help and for your well-wishing for the community. We actually started in West Valley, you know. We moved to Taylorsville, you know, in only 2001. Thank you. Thank you all.
Right, thank you.
So if you would
Yes, and you're welcome to continue on with your evening. Thank you. Thank you. We come to item 4 on our agenda of special recognitions, and this is where we like to acknowledge our scout groups with us tonight. I see a scout group there in the back row. Is there a boy leader who would like to come up to the microphone and introduce your troop? Here's a good lad, and while you're on your way up, we want to hear your name and your troop number and what badge you're working on today and what school you live by. That kind of helps us know what neighborhood you're joining us from.
Okay, I'm Chandler Cole. I'm representing Troop 561, and I live by Robert Frost Elementary.
Okay, and what badge are you working on today?
My star.
Your star, okay. Great.
Yeah.
Had to double check. Well, good. Well, thank you, Chandler. I appreciate you and your scout group coming with us today. We have item number 5 this evening, Council, the approval of the minutes of July 10th and July 17th. Do I hear a motion there?
Move for approval of the minutes of July 10th and July 17th.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion of that motion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
The minutes are approved. We come to item 6, which is our comment period. And our comment period, it looks like we have 4 people that have signed up this evening to speak with us. And this is not a time for a big debate between the elected officials and those who have come to hear. but it's a wonderful opportunity for us as elected officials and our city staff to hear what's on your mind. And Elaine Jones is first, so if you can come up, Ms. Jones, we'd love to hear what's on your mind, and you do have a 5-minute limit this evening.
Part of this message was put together after I attended last year's budget meeting, where the late Carolyn Burt wanted to know why there wasn't more citizen participation, and part of the reason that doesn't happen comes from the fact that when elected officials ask the voters what they want, and they tell them not only no, but my former co-worker's way of phrasing not only no, but the other no, and then city officials do exactly what the city citizens said they didn't want, it creates a feeling that being involved civically is not worth the time. But I wanted to come at this particular budget meeting, even though it doesn't look like there's going to be a change in the tax structure. I'm sure that you met to put this together, and I wondered if when you met in what you call a retreat, was it a West Valley City location? Did you go to like the Hale Center or the Maverick Center or somewhere here in the city so that the funds spent for this meeting stayed in the city?
I'll answer that real quick. It was at our Cultural Celebration Center in our city and was a public meeting.
Excellent. Then the items that are important to me is for a budget priority include adequate police and fire coverage and up-to-date equipment for both branches of that particular safety function. It seems to me that whenever there's a problem with the budget, they're the first ones to get the hit instead of being the first ones to be paid. And the ploy is that if you attack that will give you more money. Well, some of us have no more money to give you. The other item that I think is important is that city employees are also in that first ones to be paid, and that their health insurance increases come from the city budget, not from a personal budget. That way our city becomes a place where we improve our city image because it's a place people want to come to work, and I think that's important. And the other piece is to remember that West Valley City is a place where working folk live. I don't need gold-plated places, and big hotels and that kind of stuff may be helpful for a certain clientele, but those of us who live here don't expect to ever use them. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Jones. Louis Severin?
Yeah, I've got a problem. It's actually trying to figure out what we can do to stop the theft of copper. I'm up on Sunset Hills, up on U-111, about 6600 South, out in the middle of nowhere. This is the second time since I've lived up there that they've stripped the copper out of the streetlights up there that comes out of the tax dollars money. I've talked to Brian, I think it is, who's I've been reporting it to when I find it, and all they keep saying is, we're going to try a different lid, we're going to try a different box. Not only are they going in there, but they're going into our neighborhood, which I don't know if you're aware of, is an HOA community, which that comes out of our pocket, not the city's. And I said, well, why don't we just bury the wires out there along 6600 South? And he says, well, we'll do that. If this other lid doesn't work, why give them the opportunity to go in there and steal $5,000–$10,000 worth of copper again? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. We have your phone number, Louis, and Wayne Pyle, our city manager here, has heard your frustration there. And Wayne, is there someone on our staff that'd be good to get back with Mr. Severin on that issue?
Yeah, yes, sir. I mean, you've actually probably talked to the expert right there in the field on the grounds, Brian. I'm sure, I don't know if he talked to you about the cost differential as opposed to, I mean, why they would consider the one solution without doing the other first. I personally do know that anytime you bury wiring. It's a really expensive process. It may be, and I don't know in this particular case, but it may be that they wanted to try the lid or the different box because they felt like even if it was a stolen, it'd still be less than bearing the expense of burying it. I don't know. I'm speculating that, but he probably knows the best. But in relation to what the mayor was passing on, I can certainly also have the public works director or somebody else that works with Brian, might have a little more engineering expertise or whatever on that, speak with you as well. See if they can give you some more input on that.
Okay, I also had one other thing up there.
Sure.
Since we're in an HOA community up there, who is responsible for making sure that the developer goes through and does what they're supposed to do for the city-wise?
If the questions you're talking about are related to the original development itself, infrastructure or various pieces that they were responsible for under a development agreement or whatever the original agreement was with the city, then we would check on that. If it's something that they've already completed, for example, had been checked off, finished in a subdivision, but then aren't maintaining later on through the HOA, then you're probably looking at a civil kind of an action.
No, this is not even completed.
Okay.
They're taking their construction equipment out there with the builders and everything else like that. I've got photographs of the boxes on how they're getting broke open,
Mm-hmm.
but they're washing, and I got pictures of the concrete tubing. There's a washout thing up there for them, big metal one. They just washed it out up on the very back road. Big piles of it there. I don't know what we can get them to do to get them to maintain their common areas, because they just come back and they tell me, hey, well, when we sell more houses up there, we'll finish it. Well, you've got the houses sold around the common areas. They're supposed to be done. Why isn't that finished?
Right. Now that probably would be more directly addressed by the Planning and Zoning Department and CED, but seeing as how we're already going to have you speaking with the Public Works Director on the other matter, I think what I'll do is have him, Mr. Willardson, or whoever he assigns, gather all of that information from you, and then we'll just divvy it out depending on where we think we can help that best.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention, because those are some big frustrations.
Well, it's just really hard. I mean, because they want some more houses up there. It's their own little private area.
Sure.
Let's get it going, guys.
Hate to be punished by being the first ones in, right?
Well, I'm not actually the first one in there, but it's like I have rules I have to go by, which I'd have my yard in within a year after I move in. They haven't done nothing.
Yeah.
So
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Phil Western.
Actually, we came together, Dave would only cover one topic. He wanted to.
You hedge your bets. That way, if he's over 5 minutes, you can tag team.
Yes.
Smart guys. Well, good to have you, Phil. And Mr. Fimbo, our final commenter tonight.
Good morning. I was here once before, so I think some of you people realize who I am. I'm a newcomer to this area. I just moved in 1967, and I happen to love the area. I'd like to compliment Mayor Winder on inviting the Sikhs here. I thought that was a very informative presentation. The next thing I'd like to address is Fairborn Square. I don't want anybody to reveal their hand or anything, but I'm willing to bet that the majority of you have not been to Fairborn. What do you call it? Fairborn Station? I bet the majority of you haven't walked through there. That's a pretty nice place. The main problem I see is it's good for my grandkids and your kids, but old men with haircuts like I've got, I'm sorry, there ain't no shade, honey. You got a lot of beautiful trees, and that'll work fine later on. But us fellows with these kind of haircuts really need a little shade. The other part of that Fairborn whatever, I think you call it the promenade or something, that beautiful, freaky display up there. It's really cute, and I heard that we were supposed to have entertainment and things like that there, and that's wonderful too. But I have a bunch of farmer friends that Well, they couldn't even stack hay in that place. It's so high. I mean, do we need to do a drug test or an alcohol test or something for these designers? Why is it so high? Give the performers, give the audience a little protection. This cute little thing up there is really cool, but it affords no protection. Now, the next door neighbor over there, and I'm sure that's all UTA, here again, pointing to my age and my hairstyle, what a joke. They got those cute little shelters over there. They're 15 feet high. I happen to, and this is another little question, I'll bet the majority of you guys haven't ridden UTA. We don't need an answer session here right now, it's not legal. But I ride the UTA 5 days a week. That's what keeps me so healthy and good looking. But, you know, not every hot August night is 100 degrees, but I'll tell you what, when it's 100 degrees out there, it certainly would be nice to have a little shelter. Same story about the Fairborn situation. So I don't know where these engineers came up with these ideas, but I think we need to start drug and alcohol testing because they somehow missed it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fimbo. Always good to hear from you, and we're excited to see the beginning of Fairborn Station. And just a reminder, it's just that, a beginning, and as funds become more available, we'll see additional shade structures and other good things there. And but yeah, start somewhere and start with the resources you have, and that's what we've done there. But your comments are well appreciated. We come to item 7 this evening, and this is a public hearing regarding the upcoming fiscal budget. Mr. Pyle, if you'd like to introduce that, please.
Thank you, sir. So that's correct as you stated. This is the night on which we make formal adoption of the budget and any other changes or questions, concerns that might arise about that. The way we do this in terms of presentation to the public is we start with a short presentation from the finance director and budget director outlining basically the summary of the budget, what the revenue sources are, what the expenditure sources are. And so at this time we're going to turn that over to him, and then after that presentation, Mayor, if you want to open it up for public comment, we'd appreciate that.
And thank you. You scouts are in for a treat. It's our annual budget adoption night.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. As Mr. Pyle mentioned, this is our annual adoption of the budget, and as you recall, we also included, this is done by way of public hearing. The reason we hold it in August is we have that as a forum and an opportunity to examine the property tax rate, which this hearing will include a property tax adjustment, which will be addressing businesses that have been technically overpaying their property taxes for a certain period of time. They've gone in and made appeals, which has reduced the revenue by a small amount, and so it's redistributed that revenue that's coming into the city, so it doesn't represent an operational increase. I've had several inquiries about that, so our budget is remaining flat with regards to property tax with that adjustment. We'll start off, the reason we do a budget in the city is to maintain sound fiscal operation. There's a couple of reasons that we do it besides the soundness of the city. One is it's required by law. State law requires that local municipalities and the state have a balanced budget, and so we have a process we have to go through. It's also a blueprint for city operations. As was discussed earlier, we do have a strategic planning retreat that where the city council discusses with staff the priorities of the city, and with those priorities staff will attempt to make the best fit possible to make sure that services are maintained, and the budget becomes the blueprint for maintaining those services and also for any changes in service levels or opportunities for equipment replacement or changes that have occurred in the budget. Also, we prepare the budget to a high standard of reporting, which is governed by the Government Finance Officers Association. It's a national, actually it's an international standard, but nationally they're the governing body that actually created government accounting practices and the GASB. They've been in operation for about 100 years. We have consistently, through the quality of our document, won an award recognizing the quality of the presentation, where they do emphasize transparency and they emphasize accuracy. So we take a lot of pride in that preparation of this budget. The calendar for our budget, we actually, it's interesting, we spent almost all year putting the budget together just in time to turn around and start it all over again. But we usually start off in January doing preliminary budget projections. Actually, the projection process occurs all year round. We track revenues, which come in a couple of different sources. They come in the form of taxes, they come in the form of user fees, and then they come in the form of grants or other types of monies that come into the city. And we track those all year. They're formalized in December prior to the strategic planning retreat, and after the city manager goes over these projections, we'll meet with the city council and participate in that planning retreat to decide what resources are available and how those resources will be used. Then in May, by law, we are required to adopt a tentative budget, which gives us the legal right to continue to operate. The way state law is written, there has to be an appropriation by the governing body in order to continue to operate the city operations. So we'll do that, and then if no property taxes adjustment is anticipated, then we'll adopt that budget in June. Some years ago, the city council decided that it was wise to hold truth and taxation hearings, which give the public the opportunity to review the taxation process and also the opportunity to make any adjustments if needed, and that's proven to be a pretty valuable resource for us. Okay, there's two parts to the budget, and just like your home budget, we have an expenditure budget and we have a revenue budget. We try and match those up. In the expenditure budget, the overarching driver for that budget is the strategic planning process. We look at the direct costs of delivering services to the city. Those would include fuel, utilities, personnel costs. We also look at other types of items. We have debt service, which we have projected out for the duration of each debt issue. We also look at trends in wages and benefits, and we work with each of the departments on these expenditure projections because there's a number of different areas that require expertise from, say, public works and human resource, and that's where our expenditure projections come from. This is what our budget looks like compared to last year. The print's getting a little bit small, so I probably won't get too much into the numbers because I can't see them too well from here. But the budget this year compared to last year represents about a 3.3% increase, which is due largely to increases in benefits costs. There were some mandatory increases that came from the Utah retirement system, from insurance costs. And then there are some also changes that we had in the budget that include one-time items which we've addressed with City Council over the last few weeks. Some of those include purchases of needed equipment. There's fire trucks, there's fleet vehicles, and several other infrastructure items that are in there. So that's where that increase comes from. You'll note I'm not going to go through the percentages, but the majority of our budget goes to public safety. Police has approximately 33% of our budget, and then fire, and then it drops down from there. So most of the budget goes towards our core services. It's kind of a graphic representation of our revenue sources. Roughly, we get revenue from three different sources. If you were to lump those together, we have sales tax, we have property tax, and then we have other services and fees. The one that we have the most control over is property tax, and that's the one that by state law they've given us the ability to regulate, and that can be increased or decreased based on the needs of the city and the direction of the council. Fees, we also somewhat have some control of that, but it's often volatile depending on what the economy is doing. Building permits is a big portion of that. So when the economy is doing well, we do really well. When it slows down, it's been slowing down. Over the years, we've tried to keep a pretty good balance between these three legs of the stool, so to speak, so that one doesn't get too much out of whack with the other, so that it gives us some flexibility and some stability when the economy turns south. And then this one is a breakdown of the expenditures. Again, you can see that most of our money goes to the public safety side of our budget, and then of course administration, public works, maintaining infrastructure through debt service, and other services. So that's the conclusion of my presentation.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay, thank you, staff. Any questions while we have the city finance director on his feet? As he talked about in the timeline, this is clearly not the first time we've taken a look at this upcoming year's budget, and this is a good last evening if there are questions.
Jim, the budget itself, as well as this information, is available on the city website.
That is correct. We post that. We've also got, for the benefit of the citizens and at Mr. Rushton's request, we have prepared a property tax estimation calculator. So if an individual has questions about what their property tax burden consists of, they can go in, put their estimated value of their home, and it will tell them how much of their total property tax is West Valley City, how much goes to Salt Lake County, etc. And that's proven to be very interesting and helpful for our citizens.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Welch?
And then on you mentioned on the adjustment for a judgment levy, that it's businesses and residents that have been adjusted.
Typically, what they do is they only take entities that their tax liability has been adjusted greater than $5,000. That usually doesn't apply to a residence because the residence's value isn't sufficient to have that kind of an adjustment. So they're almost all businesses.
Okay, good question. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Wells.
Thank you.
Mr. Pyle, anything else you'd like to add before we consider Resolution 12-116?
No, sir, unless there are any questions from the council, we're good.
Okay. Yeah. I'll now open the public hearing regarding Resolution 12-116, our final budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Is there anyone who's come to speak on that topic tonight? Some of you spoke earlier and your comments are duly noted. Okay, if there's no one here to speak on that, we will close the public hearing. And Council, what's your pleasure regarding Resolution 12-116? I'll make a comment while some of you are contemplating a motion. I'm really proud of our city. I'm proud of our city staff, and in a year when we're certainly haven't seen the sales taxes recover to the 2007 levels anywhere in Utah. We've been very prudent and holding the line on a lot of things here at the city, and even shade structures for Mr. Finbo at Fairborn Station. No money yet, honey. And but you know, we've been good at holding the line there on spending, and a lot of our neighboring cities are raising taxes this year, and we're not. We're holding the line, and as was mentioned in the comment period earlier, we are a working class city of sorts, and families are having to figure out how to make ends meet with what they have, and I know businesses are, and it's good that we are as a city too. So I am proud of our city's efforts in that regard this year. Thank you.
Mayor, move for approval of Resolution 12-116.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion to this motion? Okay, it's one of the most important votes we cast this year. Let's do a roll call vote on this one. Ms. McKendrick?
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Lang?
Yes.
Mr. Bueller?
Aye.
Mr. Hoon?
Aye.
Mr. Rushton?
Aye.
Mr. Christensen?
Yes.
Mayor Winder?
Aye. And it's unanimous in the affirmative. Whether you say aye or yes, it's unanimous in the affirmative. So the good news is we'll have a budget to proceed with for next year. All right, let's continue to item B, which is also a public hearing. It's regarding ordinances 12-32 and 12-117. Mr. Pyle, if you'd like to introduce those, please.
Thank you, sir. So we have before us an application for a rezone and then also proposed development agreement associated with a multifamily development over just off of Redwood Road at 1559 West and 3860 South.
Okay. I will now open the public hearing regarding zone application Z-3-2012, which is encompassing ordinances 1232 and 12117. Is there anyone who's come to speak on that issue today? Good? All right. Okay, I will close the public hearing then. Council, what's your pleasure regarding this zone change?
I would move for approval of ordinance 12-32.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion to that motion? For the sake of you scouts, if we seem a little rusty today, from 4:30 to 6:30 we have a study meeting each week where we review all the items that will be on the next week's agenda. But between the 24th of July holiday and the National Night Out Against Crime, where we canceled this meeting, attended block parties instead, it's been a few weeks, so we have to dust off our memories of the details of these proposals. But everything we vote on today has been discussed at least once in the past. Okay, we have a motion and a second regarding ordinance 12-32. Any further comments or questions? Okay, all in favor of approving 1232, say aye.
Aye.
That passes unanimously. 12-117, is there a motion on that one?
I'll move for approval of resolution 12-117.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you both. Any questions or discussion there? Okay, all in favor of approving 1217, say aye.
Aye.
That also passes unanimously. Mr. Pyle, please introduce resolution 12-118.
Thank you, sir. So we have various contracts throughout the years with entities that represent us at different levels of government as we negotiate and look for projects and programs that are in the city's interest. And short terms, basically, these are lobbying firms, and this is one of the professional service agreements we have with one of those firms, DLS Consulting, and we're proposing reauthorization of that contract. Okay, is there a motion on that one?
Mayor, I'd move approval of resolution 12-118.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and background music. Any discussion on that one, 12-118? Okay, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
That one also appears unanimous. Mr. Pyle, 12-119, please.
Thank you, sir. Pinnacle Risk Management provides our claims adjusting and administrative services for our workers' comp program. We'd like to renew that agreement with them, and this resolution would allow that. Okay, thank you. Council, what's your pleasure there?
I would move for approval of resolution 12-119.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion there? Okay, all in favor of approving 12-119, say aye.
Aye.
That also appears unanimous. Item 9 this evening is a motion for executive session. Council, is there anyone who has such a desire? Okay, seeing none, I'll move to agenda item 10, which is to adjourn the city council portion of our evening and toss it to Don Christensen to chair our redevelopment agency portion of the evening.
I'd like to call to order the redevelopment agency. We have had an opening ceremony and roll call. First item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes of June 26th and July 3rd.
Mr. Chair, I move for approval of the minutes of June 26th and July 3rd, 2012.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor of approving those minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. Communications.
No, sir, thanks.
Any report from the Chief Executive Officer?
No.
We have one resolution, 1214. Mr. Pyle, would you like to present that?
Yes, thank you, sir. We have before us a proposed amendment to an ADL, or Agreement for Disposition of Land, that we have through the RDA with Hexel Corporation. They have agreed to or committed to various landscaping improvements as part of that project, and this amendment would allow them to delay or reschedule part of those landscaping improvements, and we are favorable to that from a staff standpoint, as that would allow them to better coordinate that with the Mountain View corridor construction project that's going on.
Thank you. Council or agency, any discussion?
Move for approval of resolution 1214.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We'll move to item number 8, which is to adjourn.
Okay, and I'll call to order the West Valley City Housing Authority, and note we've had an opening ceremony and that all members of the Housing Authority are present. And turn your attention to item 4A4, which is the approval of our July 3rd minutes. Board members.
Would move for approval of the minutes of July 3rd, 2012.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Housing Authority minutes of July 3rd. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Appears to be unanimous. Any communications or report of the Executive Director this evening?
No, sir. Thanks.
Will you please introduce our first of 3 resolutions then?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. This would allow us to enter into a cooperative agreement with the Road Home and, of course, the West Valley Housing Authority, and allow them to use, or allow us to use their services referral use referral and case management services to help the homelessness situation.
Good partnership. Any questions or need for more information on this? Not a motion would be in order.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1222. Any discussion to that motion? None, call the question and ask those in favor to please say aye.
Aye.
And that also appears to be unanimous. 1223, please.
Thank you, sir. This would allow us to enter into a sub-grant agreement with Salt Lake County for $50,000 in home funds in their home investment partnership program.
Okay, we've also had some information on this, but do you have any questions or need for more information or motions?
Move for approval of 12-23.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1223. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Also is unanimous. 1224, please.
Thank you, sir. This is also a sub-grant agreement with the county, also under the same home program. The difference in this one is it's $198,239 and would be allowing us to continue on with our existing programs that we currently run under the home program.
Okay. Any questions or motions at this point?
I move for approval, resolution 12-24.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 1224. Any discussion to that motion? And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Also unanimous. And seeing no other business or motions on this meeting, this body will stand adjourned.